Welcome to the Chamber Forum Spotlight, a new show brought to you by the Pembroke Chamber of Commerce in association with the local scene. This is a new format. This is a roundtable discussion, and I'm your host, Fraser Townley, and I'm delighted to be joined by Mary Waldron from the Old Colony Planning Council and Andy Wandell from Pembroke's Planning Department. You're the chairman of the planning.
Currently the chairman of the planning board, yes.
The planning board. And so we're going to have some presentations from both Mary and Andy explaining various factors such as multi-zoning, site planning review, and then we will have an open discussion. So Mary, why don't we start with you? Mary, welcome.
Thank you. This is really exciting to be this and to see what Pembroke is doing to engage its residents and businesses together. So I'm always happy to talk about all the great things that are happening with Old Colony Planning Council. And we had our monthly meeting last night, and both Becky Coletta and Alicia Perry, Siciliano Perry are delegates. But just a little bit about Old Colony Planning Council, because I think that most people do not know what a regional planning agency is. So we are one of 13 across the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We're created by Enabling Act. We'll be celebrating 60 years in 2027. So we've been around for a while, but one of the things that we also do is that we have 17 communities, and Pembroke is one of those communities. But we have 27 staff, so some stats about us. We have 30 council members, 17 communities, both with a delegate and an alternate, and then we have an at-large member as well.
So that's who Becky Coletta and
Alicia
are. Okay.
Correct. So, and they're appointed by the Board of Selectmen. So it's not us appointing them. They are appointed by each community. They don't get paid. They're all volunteer, but they represent the town before the council. A little bit like a county government, but we're not. County governments actually, their members do get paid. There's 3, it's not 19. But it's an organization, and back 60 years ago, it truly was created to help our communities who did not have planners, or economic development folks, or transportation planners, or sustainability planners. So that's our role. It's evolved. We have a lot of people know us as being a transportation organization, but we're much more than that. And in fact, over the last couple of years, we really built up our economic development team with Don Sullivan and Nick Giaquinto. So we're really thrilled about that element. So we've grown. We continue to do a number of things. So, I guess I'll just share, I think it's really important to know where all of this information is. And we have a website that's very active. It will take you, most people, including myself, sometimes I have to find so much information on the website, but we do have websites. We also have a website calendar. We have bi-weekly newsletter. One of the newsletters just went out today. We have people not just from our region who receive that. It is statewide, Commonwealth. We have people from Amherst and out in the Berkshires who have requested to receive it. But we're on social media, and one of the things that I think we talked about a little bit on your podcast is being able to have different variety of ways of communicating. So the biggest piece is being transparent of the work that we're doing, but also staying in communication in various ways. It's a lot of work, and we have a full-time communications director. She's amazing. My PowerPoint presentation was created by her, but also it's just being able to address the various ways of communicating.
So before you move on
Please.
to your next slide,
Yes.
sorry, Mary.
Nope, that's okay.
You've talked a lot about the website.
Yes.
I believe we'll be showing it on the
Screen.
broadcast.
Right.
But what is that website?
Oh, thank you. It's www.oldcolonyplanning.org.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I appreciate. No, that's it's in my head always, but it's I think that's really important. And the other pieces that we are on is on Instagram. We are we're on LinkedIn, which is a much fast-growing venue for people to share information professionally, and we're on X. And so we try to stay. Let's put it this way: we try to stay current and engaged. So, in terms of infrastructure, again, like I mentioned, we're noted for our transportation and public safety. So, a couple of things that we have, we worked with the town of Pembroke, is our safe streets for all. say that 5 times fast. It's really hard. But it's funding that came to us, and we filtered it with the community, just about identifying streets, sidewalks, lights, quality of life for folks, right? We see building happening within the community, whether it's residential or whether it's commercial or industrial. But what that happens with that growth comes, how do you manage that? And many times you ask for an traffic impact study or things of that nature, but sometimes that does not happen, whether it's a project that may not have had that implemented, or it might be even a community project. So the safe streets for all, it's high crash locations. I think that's the most important piece. We want to target areas that are seeing that, and it's done in conjunction with the police and fire department, DPW, and obviously the public officials. Public hearings are held, conversations are held within the community. So that piece is in queue for us. But it's also, I want to also mention about bicyclists, because I know that the electric bikes are really rises to the top in terms of they not being regulated. So we have a bike and pedestrian advisory committee as part of us. It's a subcommittee, and they meet quarterly. But we've had police chiefs and DPW, and we have state folks come on, and just to see where are the newest ways of regulating that, helmets, etc.
So let me just ask, do the towns approach you, or do you approach the towns? How does it work?
It's great question.
Okay.
So we do have technical assistance funding that we receive from the state. In fact, a couple just came in with the last week, one from the town of Avon, saying there's something that happened. We do have residents that approach us, but we always go back to the town because not that that wouldn't be an issue, but we want to make sure that the community is well aware. And, the chief of police may be saying, I have this area that I need some focus on, but we have a resident who comes. So we'll always go back to the town, working with Becky and Alicia, but also with planning boards or the town administrator, just to kind of make sure that we're focused. So how those requests come in, we can identify through our own data. We have some amazing staff who are data crunchers, analysis, just from various avenues, like we talked about in terms of crash reports, we get those. But it's also, again, just from we don't want that study to be put on a shelf and stay there. We need to figure out ways of addressing the needs.
Got it.
So with that, there's also road safety audits. It's called, my office always uses acronyms, and they always say RSA, and I say, stop for a second, and let's talk about what it really is. So road safety audits, we collect the data that, sometimes the tubing, sometimes the state does it, sometimes the town does it, but we will put tubings out and do traffic counts. And we will also, we can test the speeds. So we collect that data. And then we meet with state and local, and sometimes federal folks will come out about a particular area, and then we have a discussion, and then our staff puts together a pretty much a 3-tiered level of analysis. Quick and easy and cheap, right? That's the first step. Something that's a little bit more moderate in terms of cost, and then it's the higher price, like the millions of dollars. But we have then that as a data bank of what that need is. So then when there are ways of applying for funds, or it's called the Transportation Improvement Program, which is a process that the federal government uses as well as the Commonwealth to identify the highest needs. And so it gets onto a list.
So are we on the list? Does Pembroke have anything on
we
that
do
list?
have, that's a great question, and we do, and I'm going to talk about that. So we have a Route 53 and 139 corridor study. Our office, we're developed short-term and long-term recommendations, the transportation access, the improved circulation, mobility, that's not just only, crossing, but we're also talking about those who have physical disabilities, the congestion. It also talks about economic, right? If when there's traffic, and say that there are parcels that are available to build, What's the capacity? What is going to add? What is it currently zoned for? And if it's commercial or industrial, what does that mean? Does it mean big trucks? Does it mean little trucks? All of that discussion. And I know planning boards deal with that on a daily basis. So traffic flow and efficiency. So that's a Route 53 139 corridor study that has presented its recommendations. The town has that. And we're always there. Like, I really, there is not a question that is beyond our office staff. They're very good about getting back. We always work with our delegate and alternate, as well as with the town, and making sure that we're all on the same page. I can tell you it doesn't always happen that way, and I will say that Pembroke has a great track record of working with us and us working with them, so we're not going off this way and the town has its priorities going somewhere else. It really has to be driven by the community needs. And then there's the Route 36 Center Street rehabilitation from Route 27 to Route 14. So that's funded through the Old Colony Transportation Improvement Program, the TIP they call it.
Yes.
Yes. We use TIP acronym all the time, but I need to slow us down. So that's the process.
And that's already happened, is that correct?
Yep, the resurfacing, rehab, and full depth reconstruction of certain areas.
And adding the paved
That's great.
sidewalks.
The sidewalks reconstructed. Drainage is really important. One might think, I remember being on one of my first site visits when I started just under 6 years ago, and people were talking about drainage. Like, why do you talk about drainage? Like, there's holes, and they say all of it is relative. It's all relative. And then sign and pavement markings are really important.
I'm going to give you you've done a great job. Have a sip of water.
I will do that.
Andy, Center Street is a fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, the difference just from getting to and from and driving.
And just
that.
recently, the reworking of the entrance to the library that was such a
they
problem.
doing that?
Yes, it was done this week.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, completed. But I will say this, we do have a very close working relationship with the Old Colony Planning Council. As a matter of fact, about 5 years ago, more than 5 years ago, we partnered with them on a housing production plan, which really guided a lot of our thinking moving forward. And recently, we've gotten a grant to redo it, or not redo it, but update the housing production plan through the Old Colony Planning Council. So in addition, we also got a recent grant to update our zoning maps. So with a lot of the changes that we've done over the past couple of years, we have to update the zoning maps. So we're doing that with Old Colony Planning Council.
And let me volley back with that, and why that piece is really important. So when you are looking to attract businesses to come here, that's the roadmap. The roadmap is what plans, master plans, housing production plans, safety plans, economic development plans. Without them, people are kind of guessing, and then a developer may come in and say, well, but you said you want this, and now you're denying me, and now they've wasted either time and money, as well as the town anxiety, the anxiety of residents and or businesses. So the housing production plan, which is not MBTA communities, a housing production plan is doing an analysis of what are the income levels, what are the medium rates for home ownership, what's the availability, and what current, as you talked about, Andy, is the zoning. Yeah. As you can tell, I get really excited about it. I really do.
No, it's fine.
It's to some people, it's like talking about it. I know we talk about like engineering. Sometimes it can be a little bit dry, but that piece and again, the partnership is critical. I really can tell you that it doesn't always work that way, but we've made great strides to not push ourselves in. We have plenty of resources. When I started 6 years ago, we started off with 15 people, and we are now at 27. But 27 with economic development, climate resiliency, waterways, a whole bunch of things that are really important.
Very cool.
So I promise I'll be quicker on this one. No. Green communities is also, why we talk about green communities, it is part of the infrastructure. So green communities are looking at ways to, in terms of, I was going to say here, there's 223,000, just a little over that, went to improving in the assistance of the structure. So it was the Council on Aging, the Pembroke Middle School, the police station, and then the Bryant Fire Station. Those were all being taken a look at. There is a vendor that takes a look in terms of HVAC and heat water pumps and things like that, which I don't really know about. But we're looking to complete the town's annual report and working certainly with the town manager's office. They've been wonderful with us to work on. Why that's important, because then again, that reduces the cost that is going to the either to in this case, Council on Aging in public buildings, but it's ways of cost savings. So then on top of that, let me see, I'm trying to think of.
Well, you've helped us out with a grant to look at the firehouse and the Council on Aging building as well.
That's right. And,
Yep.
and Paul Umano is our staff member who's working on that. Again, we don't get paid a lot of dollars for that assistance. It's like $5,000 a year. But part of that is part of our mission and working, and it's chasing paperwork, and it really is getting the data. The state collects that, and it comes up with a number that does talk about cost savings. You know, I will take a little bit of a stop because I know some of the energy audits that are done, and you know, some of that has been passed on to consumers, and sometimes that relates to the rates. I think it's a valid issue that should be discussed, but there's a lot of education that goes into it. For any of the communities that they really have, this is again town buildings, but it's infrastructure, and we're looking at ways, at some point energy costs are only going to go up. And that is an infrastructure, you know, Massachusetts, we talked about, you know, energy costs is one of the topics that can prevent businesses from coming. I do want to talk a little bit about comprehensive planning.
So before you go
Yes.
in there, I believe, Andy, you're going to talk about that.
Oh, good.
The comprehensive building plan and the MBTA communities.
Well, I was going to talk more about what we're doing with technical assistance on the MBTA 3A law and how we're
So why
preparing
don't
for that.
We hear Mary, and then if it's overlapped, you can
Yeah.
skip it when it comes to you. But
Sure.
you can.
And I do have a map in that's here that will be shown, but you know, certainly the technical assistance, Jason DeRoche from our office, who really has just been incredible assistance. So the town did make the changes to allow for multifamily housing, and it was adopted, and I will leave that part to you. And then we talked about the Pembroke Housing Production Plan, and then the Open Space and Recreation Plan that we also worked on. Yeah. So how does that, but if we're going to be bringing people into a community, whether it's Brockton, where I live, or whether it's Pembroke, that we're talking about today, that balance of quality of life, right? People want to be able to maintain, in the sense of Pembroke, the green space and open space. But as you're bringing either children into the schools, families, or elder population, age-friendly has been an important topic to talk about. You need to be able to have that open space. And as we know with development, that can go away pretty quickly.
Although, Andy, you would say we've grown our open spaces, is that correct?
Yeah, actually, over the past 20 years, we've grown it significantly through acquisitions.
Yeah.
And that's a decision, right? Because particularly if it's conservation land, you can't build upon that anyway. But having that be an active open space or at protection, but yet a walking trail. In fact, we have a staff member, Matt Dyer, used to be a select board member in Hanson, who's joined our team, and he's now working on trails, rail trails, and rebuilding them, and working with our communities to find funding or help apply for funding. I will say, because Pembroke did make the decision to adopt the MBTA communities, you were able to apply for one-stop funding from the state, and that was huge because you were able to receive funding. So those are the things just in terms of comprehensive planning, just a little bit, but you know, I know talking with Andy, we'll talk a little bit more. The other excitement that we have is our economic development. As I mentioned, we've grown in this area over the last couple of years. So we have a commercial and industrial inventory site throughout all of our region. Dawn Sullivan and Nick Giaquinto have been working really hard. It's on our website. There is a link, and we'll be able to share that. But in addition to that, we have a dashboard of it's like a self-assessment tool. So we will have, what's your infrastructure? Water, sewer, solar, I mean, all of that, right? It's all in one place. But we have it for all of our 17 communities. We received some federal funding to do that, and we're a bit of the envy of other regional planning agencies because it is a model to be that many of them have asked. Also, EPA brownfields. I believe that there is, the fire station and the former Council on Aging are being looked at. Nick G. Quinto is leading that for us. Again, taking a site that's been contaminated, make an assessment of it, but then also putting together a plan to either reuse it and or to cap it and to make it at least an open where nobody else can build upon that. And then I do have here, we have it's in a draft form, is our comprehensive economic development strategy. Lots of words, but each of our 13 regional planning agencies do this. And we put together data, like we're talking about unemployment rates, you name it, everything under the sun, it's under this plan, but it also projects for the next 5 years, what's our plan? We're going to be unveiling that soon, and certainly would love to, willing always to come back here to talk about it, or to the planning board to go through that data. But, and then
it's always good to have the data to support what you're saying.
Fraser, everything nowadays is data-driven.
Mm-hmm.
The applications that you apply for tell us why you need it. I know that is really important. It is. And, sometimes it's not sure, reliable sources. The census is out there, but sometimes that gives you a region. We've been able to work on elements, including, I brought with me, and I will make sure that this is available. It's a community profile about the community. It's done in 2024. We do it every couple of years, but employment and the average, the population, you name it.
Just for Pembroke.
Mm-hmm.
So
Just
this is
for Pembroke.
something we could perhaps share online?
You can. I
Very
have one.
good.
But
Excellent.
and obviously your viewers today, but that data is really important. So we'll be doing it again next year, just to update. But it also talks a little bit about growth rate and education. Mm-hmm. So why that piece is important, back to the infrastructure topic, is because it helps you plan.
Yeah.
And without that planning, it really, I think, could be detrimental if you're not ready to have that or have the tools. And then just lastly, we have some regional efforts. Currently, Joanne Zigman from our office is working with Plymouth County and some other partners to talking about a food hub, working with farms and different organizations about how do we sustain our region for food, not so much food desert. And so bringing people together, having talk about local systems, local food systems, but also protecting those food systems. It's hard to be a farmer nowadays. It just is. And so looking at zoning regulations in a community, who's allowed, how is it, and how do we help them? And how do we support, or at least hear from that?
Yeah.
The last regional is a regional water plan. Water, quality of water. We just heard about with the hurricane that went through, and many of those countries that were hit, their water supply was the first to go.
Yeah.
And here, and particularly with having that regional, taking it at a regional, and being a Brockton resident, that sometimes Brockton is seen as being the big person in the room that takes all the water and
Surface water. You only take our surface water.
And I think the part that's really important is the discussion. Brockton was sitting at this table as a partner. And they heard some stuff, but they're still continuing to work as a partner. And so we had hired a consultant and went around. We held public meetings. That plan is halfway on a shelf, but we're looking for some funds to make sure that the group continues, and not to create another authority, but have that dialogue, right? What are the wells, protecting those wells? We know Plymouth County did provide a lot of funding for PFAS. So that, right, all of that can be talked about.
Yeah.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg. So my last slide is there's additional, the inclusionary zoning. Back in 2017, we did a business guide. We want to do one again and update it for you guys. The town does an annual report. OCPC contributes to that annual report. And then I just provided you the community profile.
Terrific. That's fabulous, Mary. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Andy, have you got much to add to that?
I don't know. So we'll talk a little bit about multifamily zoning in Pembroke. There are a couple of our zoning areas that allow multifamily zoning. Familiar to a lot of people is the Route 53 corridor, and that's called the residential commercial zone. So multifamily housing is allowed up to 4 units per acre by special permit, and that goes before the planning board. But a number of years ago, before the MBTA Communities Act was passed, we had decided to allow multifamily zoning in our industrial A and B zones up by Route 3 as part of that 139 corridor. So we allowed that by special permit, with all the rules and regulations that go around siting and everything else. We kind of left it there. We did talk to some local developers and kind of let them know, because we could pass this new zoning, but unless you let people know that it's available, you may not get anybody taking you up on it. But it was kind of slow. And then when the MBTA passed, we decided, well, we've already got that allowed up there, and pretty much at the same density. So let's pass it. And we did, and I think we were one of the first communities in the Commonwealth to actually pass the law. And of course, there's all kinds of good reasons for that. First and foremost, above all, is the need for housing and the need for this type of housing. We did add a component to it requiring 10% affordable. That's made it through, which is important. And as you know, it does allow some very dense housing. However,
what is that density, Andy? When you say dense housing?
well, it's 15 units per acre.
15?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is dense.
Yeah.
However, it is gated by septic.
Right.
Now, Pembroke doesn't have sewerage, so septic is a definite gating factor in density. So those are considerations that go into effect when choosing this. The other part of it is we saw the need for it, number one, but this particular site seemed to be the best for it. And as you know, we had to allow for it. The other reason why I made a good site is there's already 230 units of multifamily housing there, which gets us a third of the units of 750. So we're already on our way there in that area of town, which was very helpful. But what we decided to do after that, we were offered up actually a grant through VHB. VHB was a consulting firm that we worked with to do the master plan 2 years ago. Actually, we had done one with you guys 20 years ago, and we finally updated it 2 years ago. So we have a comprehensive master plan. I will say that the housing production plan and a lot of these details were very, very helpful in getting us through that process. It was very helpful. So VHB offered up technical assistance for what we would expect in a site plan for a multifamily MBTA Communities project, or 3A project. We'll use 3A just to make it a little easier. But a 3A a 3A project in Pembroke. So what my goal, as the chair was, and I think the rest of the members of the planning board kind of share in this, is that we wanted to be ready once we got an application. We figured if and when we want to be ready. So what we're looking at is what we can negotiate. Because site plan approval comes under the planning board, we have the opportunity to negotiate some aspects of the project. So we wanted to be clear with what we were allowed to do and what we couldn't do. So we're right now in the middle of that. We had a great phone call, or I participated in a great phone call with the town planner in Westboro yesterday, discussing what they do there with their multifamily projects. So there are things like the development impact study, which is big, the traffic studies, infrastructure. Can you ask for infrastructure near the project to help support, the additional, burdens on infrastructure? All of that you're allowed to do. And so we want to be able to negotiate that once we get a application in. So we're in the middle of the work now. Mm-hmm. It's moving ahead. And if you look at where it's allowed, that's the area. And we have the dimensional requirements.
So this is up by the back of Stop and Shop, near Lowe's, that area?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
That's exactly right. Corporate Park. So if you look at Corporate Park and you look at where the Brigham and Women's is,
Absolutely.
if you go all the way down there, and there's a lot of land available for that there. And also on the other side where the current Pembroke Woods is. So that's what the planning board is doing to get prepared for it. We'll also have a training session with VHB once we develop this. They'll come and they'll work with the planning board on giving us some training. So I think that's going to be extremely helpful.
You know, Indy, and I think that's where you had mentioned the impact fees or the impact, negotiating tools that you have. We see many of our communities, West Bridgewater and a few others that have done that, including installing lights because of the impact of cars coming that were not there once before. So that piece is important. There's also some training through citizen planning. There's a statewide organization that we work with that offers, it's not for free, but it's for more nominal, that they provide training in zoning and planning tools for the sort of the off the street person. A resident may want to do that. So I think to hear that VHB is going to be providing training is exceptionally helpful.
Yeah.
Most people, most residents, again, goes back to they don't want to feel left out. But it's important for them to have the tools to understand, never mind the acronyms, but the impact and what a special permit is versus the state coming in and telling us what we have to do.
Well, here's the thing that's interesting about that. We know that reducing some regulation is going to help spur some housing, and this is what the state did. They took some regulation out of it. Now, otherwise, we'd be faced with a comprehensive permit or a 40B application where we get no say at all in the site plan.
That's right.
And even the ZBA doesn't get a chance to really, chime in on a site plan. It all goes through EOHLC, who will approve that plan. So having the local oversight as part of 3A, I think, is key. It also goes through the public hearing process. This is when people get a chance to ask questions about the project. They get to air some issues they may have with the project. But we also get the chance to actually explain a lot of the things that people think we don't do. They don't think we take water into consideration. Well, the water department plays a huge role with the developer when they're planning a project like this. They have to have a rationale. They have to go through calculations to justify hooking into our water system. So all that stuff is done. It's not taken lightly. One of the interesting things we talked about yesterday was a checklist for an application that would include the other departments that are impacted by a project like this, like public safety, schools, water, DPW, all the people who are actually impacted by a project like this. So you get all that work done ahead of time by the applicant. You get a checklist that's very comprehensive so everybody knows what's required. And if you have some special requirements for infrastructure or things like that, you want to get that done up front.
That's right.
Right, before the hearings, because what you really want is you want a project of that scope, all the work done up front, totally front-loaded, so that when it comes to hearing time, you're not doing a continuation of the public hearing for 3 months or 4 months, and we see that happen with planning boards.
Of course. And I think, just hearing again from Andy, and it sounds like Pembroke has a really great planning board with communication and as you said, openness and transparency, but yet, planning, staying ahead of, and I think that helps alleviate any kind of misinformation or fear. And to your point, when all you need is to have continuation of hearings, then that's when developers also, or business people say, it's time for me to go. I can go somewhere else.
And this is why we host the podcasts and the forums and stuff like that, to create this avenue of clarity for the residents and the businesses in Pembroke, because there is misinformation, and it's not misinformation that's nefarious. It's misinformation because of anxiety.
Yeah,
That's it.
It's the, hold on a second. Do we have enough water? We have had water issues. We have had road issues, and therefore, it's that stand back and say we can't afford to do this. We can afford to do it. In fact, we need to do it.
well, if you look at town budgets, you need growth in the budget.
Of course you do.
It's
sure.
integral. So to turn away projects, it doesn't make a lot of sense, especially when you need to pay your public safety people, your teachers.
Yeah.
And actually what we're advocating for is housing that's geared towards their income levels. So it's not, we're not talking about low income housing as much as we're talking about someone who's at 80% of the average median income, and that could be $130,000.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy.
That is the whole point in terms of, like, most people think affordable housing, you're talking about someone who's making $25,000, $30,000 a year. You're not.
No.
I mean, you are talking about, but that's the income that's required to live in this region.
Right.
And so having a community that has that global understanding about what it takes and to know the tax base is needed, it goes back to that data too, right?
Yep.
These numbers are real numbers. We don't make them up. We get them from reliable sources. We put it together. So when it's time to make that decision, here's your budgets. We know scope. There's
Well, I think
Here's
you're
the
going to be very
backing
surprised at the income numbers for Pembroke. I think people would be surprised to see them because they're high.
They are. So we'll, again, we'll talk about updating this data because, again, this is from 2024. It's a different world in 2025. In fact, we should really be thinking about updating them more often. But it gives at least a weather
I'm
vein.
sincerely impressed that it's 2024, actually. You see lots of studies that this is from 2019.
Yeah.
It's not good enough. It has to be more up to
Anything
date.
during COVID cannot be reliable. It's just
No.
those numbers are so
of course
skewed.
not.
Yeah.
But we take into account, and we do work with, UMass Donahue Institute. We work with reliable sources as well. But
Well, that's the other reason to update a housing production plan. The data changes in 5 years for sure.
yes.
Andy, what did you want to, are there any other slides you want to plow through? Because I'm conscious that it's
we've
been
been
a
through the-
fabulous conversation. But
Been through the site plan review standards and
Yeah.
things like that. That's that's pretty granular.
yeah.
No, that's good.
So I think one of the things that we're being asked is, so we had Judy Parks and Erin McGew from Habitat for Humanity. We had a podcast with them this week, and I learned a lot of things from that. And I think what people want to know is this idea of affordable housing. I mean, none of it's affordable. I don't know why we have that title. In fact, I learned it was the anti-snob laws. Was that right?
But it is affordable if you look at it, right? You're looking at it can't exceed 30% of income, correct? And so when you've got a firefighter or you've got a teacher and they're making $100,000 a year and they're at 80% of the AMI, this is who we're gearing this housing towards.
Sure.
These are the people who you work with and it's
Workforce housing.
It's workforce housing. That's exactly right. So there's a tremendous need for it, but at the same time, what we're also doing is increasing inventory of housing.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had a lack of inventories since the financial crisis of 2008.
Mm-hmm.
All of those numbers have been low, way lower than they have been in history. So we have a lot of catch up to do with inventory, and I think that's another thing that's affecting pricing. Now, we're seeing a growth spurt here. We're seeing a lot of stuff happen. If you think about Pembroke, and we've had a lot of comprehensive permits, 40Bs, we're looking at a significant amount of housing coming online in the next 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's,
Upwards of like 500 units of housing.
I mean, what we know about, or
What we
there's
know
other stuff?
about.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's terrific. Tell us about the ADUs, because the ADU law changed this year, and I think that's going to have a dynamic impact.
Well, I love talking about this because in Pembroke we were always ahead of the curve on ADUs as well. We had allowed them, and again, it had to go to the ZBA, and we had rules around it. People are taking advantage of it. We're getting like 10 applications a month for ADUs, so I think it's very popular.
But because of the new rule, because of the new laws.
Well, people know about
Right.
it.
But
right?
as you said, Andy, that it's something that Pembroke had been ahead of the game in terms of allowing them going through the ZBA. I think it's just a process now becomes.
Well, I think what's important now is the ADU doesn't have to be connected to the main property.
That's right.
Right.
It can be built at the same time. although I don't know many properties
Yeah, we
where
had a
it's-
moratorium for a year
Yeah.
after you built the house, which didn't make much sense to
rented
me.
to a
But
blood relative. That's no longer there.
That's no longer there.
It can be 900 square foot instead of 800 square
That's
foot.
right.
And there's some frontage
Well,
guidelines as well. Is that
up
correct?
to 900 or no more than 900.
Yes, yes. But there's also some. Is there a frontage?
No, you
piece to that?
got to go by the setbacks. The same
Right,
setbacks
okay.
as before.
Okay.
And there's some septic issues. I think an additional tank is necessary, and you have to have a septic system that will cover the amount of bedrooms, including the ADU. So a lot of people will have a 4-bedroom septic, but a 3-bedroom house.
Yeah.
So they can have a 1-bedroom ADU. Otherwise, you have to
Make the accommodation.
you have to make the accommodations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, the demographics, if you think about that, I'm in that
Yep.
65, I don't want to be in my house. I want to maybe have an in-law or an ADU with my family, right? That, it's growing. This is the group of folks who are in that 65-year-old and older. They don't want to be maintaining a house anymore. They don't want an apartment. They don't want to move out of their community. And so this gives that option. It's right. We're at the spectrum of older adults, and then we have the young folks.
So you would move into the ADU and let your family have
You
the main.
betcha I would.
It's
I
also a
would
good.
switch the other way. We'll have a chat.
No,
afterwards.
it's really a great opportunity for people's kids to have an opportunity at ownership where they may not have that opportunity without it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So look, I actually think we're hitting the timeline. Was there anything you wanted that we haven't spoken about that you wanted to get across to the residents of
No,
Pembroke?
I think what's important is to educate yourself, and being part of the discussion today sounds like the town and its residents are in good hands for discussion, for public meetings, town meetings, special town meetings, podcasts, the chamber, the businesses. So, I will make sure that we share and add both of you to our newsletter. I don't know if you get our newsletter, but I'll make sure you at least get the newsletter. We'll share that, particularly from the regional perspective. Again, regional planning is not often talked about in circles where a lot of us are behind the scenes. We like it that way in many ways, so we go where we're wanted. But the statement is more about continue to doing what you're doing. You really are, in terms of our region, a highlight for our communities to follow what you're doing. We know, sometimes the capacity of not having an economic development director or, a planner or things of that nature can be helpful. But we're here to help you and
Right.
continue to do that
And
work.
the presentation that you gave tonight, there are links in there,
There
which
are.
I can extract.
That's correct.
For this kind of stuff,
Yes.
we can put this on our website
That's
as well
terrific.
and make sure that
Yep.
the residents and the businesses have access to this data. Andy, was there anything you...
Yeah, I just want to talk about forums and getting the message out. It's so important that we talk about the benefits of housing, the benefits of development to a community, so we can let people know that we are thinking about these issues. We understand some of the, reticence about things, because change is difficult. But we've been doing as much as we can to be as transparent as we can with the planning board. All of the applications are put up online when we get them. All the plans are there. We've got huge developments in town, for instance, the Country Club project. All of those plans are online. People can look at them, and they can see what's being planned. They can always ask questions. As planning board members, we're volunteers, and we don't have the kind of resources in-house, but having a regional partner like the Old Colony Planning Council is integral to helping us succeed with this, because we don't have those resources.
Yeah.
So very important. Thank you for all the great work you
Music
guys
to my
do.
ears.
Yeah.
And we look forward to continue to working with the town on where your plans are coming next. So thank you.
And we
Fraser.
try to be a vehicle for that.
Yes.
And we'll continue to do that.
And the work you guys are doing with the chamber is also great. I mean, getting the information out to people is so important.
I agree.
You can lead a horse to water,
Yeah. People need to make an effort to look for it,
a
but
pencil must be led.
it's great having it there. No, when
Yeah.
people are looking for information, it's great that you're providing it. You have it there for them.
We try.
Yeah.
Well, I think that is all we have time for today. I'd like to thank our guests, Mary Waldron, from the Old Colony Planning Council, and Andy Wandell from the town's planning board. This show will be available on YouTube on the Pembroke Meetings LS, and the audio will be available on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube sometime in the future. And there will be additional links on our Facebook page. And don't forget to like us on Facebook at the Pembroke Chamber of Commerce. And if you want to become a member of the Pembroke Chamber, please go to the Pembroke Chamber's website, pembrokechamber.org. Yes, I got that right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.